Hello, everybody. This is your boy Ken, aka MrGentleman, and I am the host of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast. If you are enjoying this show, you can also check out the Premiere Boys Podcast, hosted by myself, Aaron Keatuk Sands, the Star Rider Rod, and Long Live Chief Mighty Mal, where we discuss everything that's going on in the culture, from love, relationships, music, sex, politics, and many more. We can make you laugh, but the show could get a little raunchy, and it may not be for everybody. But if you are curious to listen to the Premier Way podcast, you can tune in to the Premier Way podcast every Wednesdays at 12 a.m. or all podcast platforms, a part of the Premier Powerverse Network. Other shows that you can check out on the Premier Powerverse Network is King Talk with Aaron Sands, hosted by Aaron King Talk Sands every Friday at 12 p.m. Star Time Podcast hosted by the Star Rider Rod every Monday at 12 p.m. And Welcome to the Trilogy hosted by Long Live the Chief Mighty Mal every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Listen and support every show in the Premier Powerverse, including this show, Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast, who is also a part of the Premier Powerverse Network. Thank you for listening to this message and check out the show. Chill! You are now listening to Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast Season 9. Chill! Hello, everybody. This is your boy Ken, aka Mr. Gentleman, 1/4 of the Premier Boys Podcast, and your host of Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Welcome to another new episode of Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Hope all is well. And first thing first, Happy New Year to everybody. We are finally here, and we made it to the year 2026. I'm grateful to be here, and I'm looking forward to see what the year 2026 have in store for not only me, but for all of us. So yeah, we are on the first episode of the year 2026. But on this episode, this is the season 9 finale of Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. And we will be discussing the year 2025. And why did I name this episode The Rebuilding Self Era? Because you already know every episode that I have when it comes to the end of the year, we have a theme during the episode. In this episode, I named it The Rebuilding Self Era. Why did I name it that? You just have to sit back, relax, and I'll be right back.
What's up, listeners? My name is Coyle with Visit Vegas Places with Coyle, and you're listening to Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast with my brother Ken.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. And at this time, it's time for Mr. Gentleman Facts, quote of the day. And today's quote of the day is, as the year ends and a new year begins, just always remember the small progress is better than no progress at all. And you may not get everything you wanted done in the year 2025, but just know that it's never too late to get something done in 2026. So whatever goal that you have, make sure you set that from 2026 and beyond. Because anything is possible when you put your mind into it. And that is today, Mr. Gentleman Facts, quote of the day. Hello, everybody. This is your boy Ken, aka Mr. Gentleman, and I am the host of Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. And this commercial break is brought to you by Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. On Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast, we interview many guests about their life journey, pretty much where they come from and where they at now. Also promoting their brands or whatever they're doing at the time they come on the show. We also have the host talk about personal stories about himself and everything that he's been through. And also we have fun conversation about anything music, anything old school, relationships, wrestling, and many more. And y'all can tune in to Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast every Sundays at 12 a.m. We are also on every Thursdays at 12 a.m. for Spin-Off Series Thursdays, where we have all of Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast spin-off series all in one day, where we have a conversation about music podcast every first Thursday at 12 a.m. The Old School Show with myself and the Star Riding Rod every fourth Thursday at 12 a.m. And we have Date Night Talk Podcast with myself and Miss Vanna B every second and third Thursdays at 12 a.m. And y'all can tune in to Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, The Pods, and many more. Or y'all can check it out on the official website of Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast, www.realmrgentlemanlifestylepodcast.com, www.realmrgentlemanlifestylepodcast.com, and tune in every Sundays and Thursdays at 12 a.m. for Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Thank y'all for tuning in to this commercial break of Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Back to your regularly scheduled program. Cheer!
My name is Dainty, host of Reminiscence and Curds, Music and Memory. You're now listening to Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. And at this time, it's time for the season 9 finale of Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. And also the first episode in the year 2026. And on this episode, I will be talking about how I feel about the year 2025. But before we do that, usually during these episodes, I usually have a theme for these episodes. And the year 2023, I named this episode Growth because I was becoming myself again. For the year 2024, I named this episode a warm-up because everything was coming together. And this episode, I named it the Rebuilding Self Era. And y'all probably wondering, why did I name it the Rebuilding Self Era? I named it that because this year was more about the pieces coming together in the puzzle. Meaning like everything was really coming together slowly. Compared to the last 2 years, I was more happier, more positive, and everything was just coming together. Many things happened this year, and I was happy about the person that I was becoming. Taking more responsibilities, learning more about myself, and many more. I was really focused on me. Like this year was more of my selfless era. I needed to make sure that in the year 2025 that I was the main character of my story, because the last couple of years I was the side character of everybody else's story, and I was pretty much supporting everybody else, but I wasn't really putting myself out there. I felt like the year 2025 I had to put myself out there, and that's what I pretty much did. I made some decisions that I didn't want to do. I know it was the right decision to do. I made some major decisions where I was afraid to take, but somebody pushed me to go to that right direction, and I did what I had to do. And I just feel like the year 2025 was more of a risky year because it was the year that I really wanted to get stuff done. And of course, I'm still working on myself now because nobody's perfect. Everybody do try to figure that stuff out in some kind of way. We all still living in hard times. But in order to get something done, you have to make some small progress first and just start putting the pieces together. So when it's really time to go in, you know what to do. And 2025 was honestly a good year for me overall. You know what they say, good things come to those who wait, and good things really did. And I'm grateful for this year. Many things happened this year. I started to continue to take care of myself, continue to maintain my health, continue to maintain my weight, going to the doctor monthly still, continue to work out, take care of myself as in going to the dentist and get my eye check, and also going back to therapy since I haven't been going since the year 2021. So going back and realizing that still more work to be done within myself felt really good. So that was one thing that happened this year. Another thing that happened this year is I got back to dating. And even though I started slowly dating again in the end of the year 2024, I felt like 2025, I was taking it even more serious. I'm going on dates this year because my intention was, because I dated for marriage. And I really wanted to test myself in this current dating environment. And yes, I have to say, dating have not been great, but I'm grateful for the people I did got to know. This year I went on 5 dates. Some of them was good dates. Some of them felt like more of a friend vibe. And other ones just didn't work out. Went on 5 dates. 3 of them went into second dates. 2 of them went into third dates. And 1 of them possibly for a 4th date. And even though things didn't work out with any of the ones I went on a date with, I know my time is coming and I will continue to work on myself until that person comes. Even though dating is not a main goal for me, it's more of a side quest for me. But I know my person is coming and I just going to continue to work on myself, continue to do what I have to do until that person does come. Until God send me a sign to let me know that my person is here, and that when I were able to focus on that person. But until then, continue to focus on myself, continue to grow myself, my brand, my business, and many more. But yeah, dating is hard, the generation, but whether it's on a dating app, whether you meet them in person, or whether you is on social media, it's not easy, but don't give up because your person's out there. Another thing that happened in the year 2025 is that I got a new job opportunity. And I wasn't sure if I was going to share this, but I felt like this was a testimony for those that are going through the same thing right now, because time is hard. And back in 2020, I lost my job. And for a long period of time, I wasn't really working, but I had some side hustles that helped me along the way, and a job that was pretty terrible that I had no quit to quit. But with a lot of prayer and a lot of applying, God really did me a way. And early this year, I ended up with a job opportunity. And I'm grateful for the opportunity because obviously good things come to those who wait. But even when things is hard, you just can't give up faith because better days will come. And of course, this is not my dream job, of course, or my dream career, because I know that's going to happen along the way, but I'm grateful for what I have right now. And I thank God for giving me this opportunity to continue to grow my income. So, yeah, that was a big thing that happened, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. If y'all want to know my dream job, I can give y'all a little hint. My dream job is that one of the radio hosts is a really famous person, and the radio that they are partnered with to just let go 3 morning show hosts. So yeah, I'm grateful for the new job opportunity that I have, and yeah, I'm not happy about that. So that's another thing that happened in the year 2025. Also, myself and Aaron Kintoxan, we got back together to reform YPG Entertainment, our club promoting brand. And we ended up getting a gig early this year at Kamado, that's downtown Brooklyn, from February to October. And it was a cool opportunity. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who came out and showed us support. But honestly, after this run, I'm not sure what the future holds for myself and Aaron Kintoxan at Club Promoters. But I just want to say thank you, everybody who's been supporting us for the last 13 years. Thank you to every promoter that gave us the opportunity to promote your spot. And is this the end? I don't know. Y'all just have to find out and see. But I just want to say thank you to everybody that showed us love doing our club promoting journey. It really, really means a lot. And once again, I thank you. From Club Rebel, Club Octagon, Catcher Todd, Studio 21, Jolie's, Kamado, and every special event that we did. I just want to say thank you, everybody, for the main support. You know, it really means a lot. And yeah, I would say that 2025 was a year where everything that I've been praying for the last 2 years started coming together this year. And I'm grateful for every opportunity. I'm grateful for every lesson I learned. I'm grateful for everybody I met this year. And I'm grateful for everything. And I know the year 2026 is going to be an even bigger year. But I have to say that the year 2025 wasn't all great. I did have some downfall moments in the year 2025. I had a couple of family members in the hospital in the year 2025. Thank God that all of them are doing way better. Also, during the dating scene, it was one particular person that I really thought that it was going to turn into something. And at the end of that, it didn't work out. And maybe that's God's way of saying that it just wasn't your person and your person's out there. But it was just disappointing when that one person that didn't work out, especially when you started putting your time into it and you started to really focus on that person. That's why I'm not gonna lie, dating is really terrible in this generation, but just know that despite somebody not working out, just know that there's somebody out there for anybody. But my biggest downfall in the year 2025 is when I got hit by a car. And how I got hit by a car was I was celebrating my birthday in May, with my bros. And as I was going home, get off the train, going home, walking home, I'm walking across the street, and out of nowhere, a car ran past the light and hit me in the back of my leg, and it hit me in my other leg. I ended up getting a little scratch in my leg and ended up with my knee hurting. I thank God that it wasn't a serious injury, but it was through something that needed to be healed. Yes, I did went to the doctor. I did got an X-ray, and they found nothing. But I thank God that, I'm 100% healed. And I thank God that it wasn't nothing serious. Because honestly, that moment, it could have been that I could have been badly injured. I could have been worse. So I thank God that that injury was not nothing serious. And I'm not gonna lie, it was a scary moment because that never happened to me before. So yeah, it was just a crazy moment. And like I said, you gotta go to the dark to get to the light. So yeah, like we all gonna have good moments, we all gonna have bad moments, but it's how you come out of it after is what really matters. So I thank God I came out of those bad moments and I continue to become the person I am today. So yeah, so that was how the year 2025 was. How the podcast did in the year 2025 as a whole, I feel like the podcast did pretty decent in the year 2025 as a whole. The first half of the year 2025 was second half of season 8. And we had a lot of pretty dope guests in the second half of season 8. And then when I started season 9, I'm at the Gentleman Like the podcast. A lot started to happen. You know, I started working. Started to. I realized that I couldn't balance a lot of things that kind of caused this season. And honestly, I wish the season numbers was a little bit better. But I appreciate everybody who did came on the show for season 9 of the Gentleman Like the podcast. But before we dive more into season 9, I just want to shout out everybody who came on the Gentleman Like the podcast this year. We had Bonita, host of Bonita Speaks. We had Juju. We had Neek from the We Define It Wellness podcast. We had Anna Lewis. We had Coral from Visit Vegas Places. We had Tamika Ford. We had Jeffrey Charles Philliman. We had Dante from the Reminiscent and Course podcast. Thank you for all y'all new guests that came on the show this season, this year. And shout out to the returning guests who came back to Mr. Gentleman Like Our Pocket this year. Aaron Quinto Sands and Lola Chief Money Mal of the Premier Boy podcast. And for Let's Talk About It podcast, Naya from What the F and Nana, Miss Janie Ho, we had Jalen, and we have Mr. Richardson, 1/3 of the Fanalorian podcast, who came on the show twice this year. So shout out to all of everybody who came to Mr. Gentleman Like That Podcast in the year 2025. It really means a lot. And thank you. We're going to talk about some podcast achievement that happened this year in the year 2025. And we had 33,000K downloads. 83 guests altogether. 7 were returning guests this year. And 8 was new guests this year. We are being played on 114 countries. And we had some podcast achievement in terms of some charts. Of course, we were number 1 for top society and culture podcast and personal journal podcast on Good Pod. We were also number 1 on dating, music interviews, and self-improvement podcast. So thank you everybody that been showing Mr. Gentleman Like the Podcast love on Good Pod. Thank you for the many achievements that we had this year. And we know we're gonna have many more in the year 2026. So I'm just gonna say thank you everybody who been showing Mr. Gentleman Like the Podcast love in the year 2026. So let's talk about season 9 of Mr. Gentleman Like the Podcast. How I feel about season 9 of Mr. Gentleman Like the Podcast. I feel like season 9 was a hit and miss season for me. When we didn't get the numbers that we didn't get within the past season. A lot of my schedule was pretty busy, and a lot of my guests canceled this season. That's why this season is more shorter than any other season we had. It's only 16 episodes this season. I just wish that this season was a little bit more better. It wasn't a bad season, but I just wish it was more better. Of course, this season did have achievement this season. We had 6 returning guests that came this season and 4 new guests. So we only had 10 guests altogether for season 9 of Mr. Gentleman Like the Podcast. 3 episodes went to number 1 of Good Pies. We had Naya episode. We had Aaron Keto Sands. And we had the Thanksgiving episode that went to number 1 of Good Pies. So, yeah. And thank you for, continue to show love to Mr. Gentleman Like the Podcast. Even though season 9 was a hard season for me, not in a mental way, just as in the scheduling way, to try to get used to the new schedule that I've been dealing with. I will make sure season 10 will be an even more better season. But before we dive into season 10 of Mr. Gentleman Like the Podcast, let's dive into the rundown for every episode of season 9 of Mr. Gentleman Like the Podcast. So season 9 premiered on July 27th, 2025. And the first episode was episode 165, Unexpected Detour, which was a solo episode, and I discussed pretty much a life update episode about everything that would happen to me during that time. Then 166, we had the big SummerSlam prediction episode with Aaron Keto Sands, Long Live the Chief Mighty Mel, and Ange, which pretty much talk about SummerSlam. Episode 167, More to Life, which was featured Tamika Ford, and we talked about her being an author, her being a nurse, talking about her book More to Life and many more. This was a really cool conversation. Thank you, Tamika, for coming on the show. We definitely gonna bring her back for a feature episode of Mr. Gentleman Like that podcast, so we can discuss More to Life 2 and many more. Next episode after that was episode 168. Entrepreneur Lifestyle with Coral, host of Visit Vegas Places. And this was probably one of my favorite interviews this season. We dive into many things from entrepreneur life to podcast show and many more. And this was a really dope conversation. I want to thank Coral for coming to Mr. Gentleman Like that podcast. We dive into many, many things. And it was a really dope interview. I also was on Visit Vegas Places back in February of 2025. That was also a really dope conversation. I want to say thank you again, Coral, for coming to Mr. Gentleman Like the Podcast. Then episode 169 was Keep Going, solo episode where I pretty much it was pretty much a motivational episode to tell everybody to keep going. Self-explanatory. Episode 170 was my first 17, which featured Jeffrey Charles Philipson, and we talked about him being a poet, talked about his book, My First 17, and being an author and many more. This was a good conversation. Thank you, Jeffrey, for coming on the show. Episode 171, that 90s music feel with Naya, host of What the F and Nana. This was a really dope conversation. I really enjoyed the conversation. We dive into many things, music, especially 90s music and many more. I love this conversation so much because it felt so natural. And this is Naya's 4th time coming to Mr. Gentleman Like the Podcast. And this was a #1 episode. So thank you for everybody that really enjoyed this episode. And thank you, Naya, for coming back on the show. You already know you're welcome back to come back to Mr. Gentleman Like the Podcast. Then the main finale episode was episode 172, the Brotherhood Crossover Part 2. That featured Aaron King Talk Sands, and this was a really dope conversation. Pretty much discussed about getting married, why King Talk ended, talk about his new podcast show At the Hours with Aaron Sands, and many more. This was another dope conversation, and this was also another episode that went to #1. So, yeah, this was a dope conversation. Thank you, Aaron Keto Sands, bro, for coming on the show, as always. Then we return with episode 173, Minor Setback Brings Major Comeback, which is a solo episode and pretty much another motivational episode telling stories about our setback and how we made our minor setback and made it our comeback. Episode 174, or reminiscence through music, which featured Dante, host of Reminiscent and Course, and behind the scenes, a lot was happening behind the scenes during this episode. But we made it through it. This turned out to be a really good episode. Thank you, Dante, for coming on the show and sharing, talking about your podcast, talking about music and many more. And we are gonna bring her back on a future episode of MrGentleman, Like That Podcast presents a conversation about music podcast where we talk about more music topics. So thank you again, Dante, for coming on the show. Episode 175, Dating Knowledge 101 with returning guest Janie Ho. And this episode was a really, really good episode. Another of my favorite episodes this season. I just want to say thank you, Janie, for sharing your knowledge on dating apps, social gathering, and everything. This was a really dope conversation. I really enjoyed our conversation. So thank you again, Janie, for coming back on the show. Of course, she will be back for season 10 of The Gentleman Like That podcast. She is one of the confirming guests that will be returning for season 10 of The Gentleman Like That podcast. I can't wait to have you back on the show, Janie. So once again, thank you for coming back to Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. Episode 176 is Thankful the Thanksgiving episode, which is a solo episode. And pretty much this was our first Thanksgiving episode of Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast ever. We never have a Thanksgiving episode in the last 7 years. So yeah, this was our first Thanksgiving episode. It pretty much the same way I'm thankful for. And thank you everybody for listening to the episode. This was another number one episode. So thank you everybody who took the time to listen to this episode. And yeah. Then episode 177 was the Survivor Series prediction episode with the Premier Boy podcast on Aaron Keto Sands and Laura G. Mighty Mal. And we predict Survivor Series War Games. Then we had episode 178, Love What I Do, which is another solo episode and pretty much discussing why I love what I do. And the last episode we had, episode 179, Wrestle Conversation Volume 1, which featured Mr. Richardson, 1/3 of the Fed and Lawyer podcast. This was his second appearance this year. So I started a new segment called Wrestle Conversation, which pretty much be discussing wrestling news or any wrestling topic with my guests every once in a while. Mr. Richardson was the first guest for the segment, and we pretty much discussed John Cena retirement match, TNA on AMC Network, WWE on ESPN, and many more. This was a really fun conversation, and thank you, Mr. Richardson, for coming back on the show twice this year. You know, that was a really dope, and thank you again for coming on the show. And thank you everybody who came on Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast for season 9. Even though I tried my best not to focus on numbers, I did wish people listened to the season more. But thank you once again for everybody who did listen to Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast season 9. It really means a lot. And let's continue to grow and support Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. Once again, thank you. So what's going on with season 10 of Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast? So I do have some news on season 10 of Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. And what I can say about season 10 is that we will have 25 episodes of season 10 of Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. We will have some old segments added to season 10, like the wrestling conversation and many more. And we have some new segments added for this season. So look out for that. We do have some returning guests who come into Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast season 10. I will announce some of them right now. Returning guests, of course, the All-Star Wrestling Prediction crew. You know, Aaron Keto Sands, Laura Chief Mighty Mal, and hopefully 21 Cal, the Source King. They will all be back for season 10 of Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. We also had Janie Ho returning for season 10 of Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. We also had Zaya, host of the Zaya Show, returning for season 10 of Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. Last time y'all heard him, he was on season 6 of Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. We will have him for season 10 of Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. Look out for him. and many other guests to come. Once we figure out our schedule stuff, I will announce more of our returning guests of Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. We do have some new guests coming as well for Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. Some of them were supposed to be in season 9, but things just didn't work out. So we're going to have them for season 10 of Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. And I have 3 confirmed guests who will be coming to season 10 of Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. One, we have a hip hop artist by the name of Octavius the Great. She will be one of the new guests for season 10 of Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. We have a podcast host by the name of Janice. She is the host of Going Through It All podcast. She will be a new guest for season 10 of Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. And I have a longtime friend who is a painter by the name of Princess Joy. I will have her for season 10 of Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast and many more to be announced. So y'all probably wondering, when is season 10 of Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast? Season 10 will be premiering on January 25th of 2026. So January 25th will be season 10 premiere of Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. And we will have 2 episodes that week. One episode will be season 10 premiere, and the second episode will be the Royal Rumble prediction episode with the All-Star Wrestling crew. So yeah, so look out for season 10 of Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. So what will be my goals for the year 2026? So my personal goals will be, I want to travel a lot more in the year 2026. I want to continue to grow my finance and have multiple sources of income. I want to continue to talk to more people. You know, 'cause I feel like I have not reached out to a lot of people, and I want to change that in the year 2026. Also, spend more time with my friends this year as well, and continue to be close to my family. That's a few goals I want to do for the year 2026, and continue to tackle big goals as well. And for the podcast, I have a couple of goals. I want to continue to grow the the numbers. So I want to have more listeners this year. I want to grow all other podcast pages. Or I want to go to Spotify. I want to go Good Pod. I want to go Apple Podcast. I want to go to iHeartRadio. I want to go to IGs and everything. And grow the YouTube channel as well. I want to also speak at a podcast conference. And that is going to be a big thing because everybody know me. I am not a public speaker at all. So me doing that, taking that big risk will be a real game changer. Even though I will miss this year podcast conference, we're gonna have to wait to 2027 for that. So yeah, that's one goal. And another goal that I have been teasing for the last couple of years is to be nominated and win a podcast award. And I manifested that this year would be the year I'll be nominated and win a podcast award. I feel like this show deserves one, and we need to have a major milestone. So yeah, another speaking of milestone, I'm gonna get on more guest appearances and more online articles as well for this year. Also, I'm gonna have some high key guests to come on with the Gentleman Like the podcast. So we can have more people share their stories. And I want to continue to impact life and help others as well. So those are my goals that I want to do for this year, not only for the podcast, but personal goals as well. And closing remarks, the year 2025 thing was the rebuilding self era. And I named it that because this was the year where all the puzzle pieces got put together slowly. Everything that I've been praying for the last couple of years started to come true. And I believe that more of those puzzle pieces will come true in the year 2026. I believe some things don't work out for a reason, but that don't mean that it's the end of the world. It just wasn't your time right now. Just continue to work on yourself, continue to work on your brand, continue to work on taking care of yourself, continue to take care of your health, and just know that good things come to those who wait. And if you are patient for a very long time, something like changing will come to you when you least expect it. And here's a tip for everybody. Please do not announce your every move. Because when you announce your every move, you think that you're flexing for people and not genuine. Because once everybody see what you're doing, everybody gonna predict your every move. So please move in silence. You don't have to announce your every move on social media just so you can get validation. You don't need that. As long as you know you're doing good, the world don't need to know your every move. Moving in silence is the best move because not everybody is going to be happy for the success that you have for yourself. You're going to have people who you think is going to be happy for you, but in reality, they're only praying for your downfall. So always remember, do not announce your every move and just move in silence. If something will happen this year, you can always let it happen next year because it's never too late to get nothing done. It's only too late when you don't do it at all. And when things don't go to your favor, don't be sad about it. Just know that it's just not your time right now. And when it is your time, it will be the greatest feeling in the world. It will be worth the hard work. It will be worth the wait. So I just want to say thank you everybody that tuned into the season 9 finale of MrGentleman, like the podcast, and the first episode of the year 2026. Thank you for everybody who's been riding with me for a very long time. And let's continue to ride for each other in the year 2026. And I'll be right back. Yeah! Hello, everybody. This is your boy Ken, aka MrGentleman. Now, I am the host of MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast, and this commercial break is brought to you by MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast presents Spinoff Series Thursdays. And Spinoff Series Thursday is the new home for MrGentleman Lifestyle Podcast Spinoff Series that brought to you shows like A Conversation About Music Podcast, The Old School Show, and Date Night Talk Podcast. And A Conversation About Music Podcast is a music spin-off series where we talk about anything music, from the current music scene and the old school music scene, where we interview many guests that's in the music industry and artists about their music journey. We have a segment game called The Face Off, which is a versus inspired game. And we have roundtable discussion about variety of music topics. And y'all can check out A Conversation About Music Podcast every first Thursday at 12 a.m. Every first Thursday at 12 a.m. Now, the Old School Show that featured myself and the star Roddy Rod is a show where we discuss anything old school, from music, TV shows, movies, and many more. We also bring in guests to join in on the old school conversation. Y'all can check out the Old School Show with myself and the star Roddy Rod every fourth Thursday at 12 a.m. Every fourth Thursday at 12 a.m. And last but not least, we have Date Night Talk Podcast with myself and Miss Vanna B, where we talk about anything relationship related topics like love, dating, relationships, cheating, the good and the bad, and many more. And y'all can check out this spin-off series, Date Night Talk Podcast, every second and third Thursdays at 12 p.m. So look out for Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast Presents Spin-Up Series Thursday, a conversation about music podcast every first Thursday. The Old School Show with myself and the Star Riding Rod every fourth Thursdays, and Date Night Talk Podcast with myself and Miss Vanna B every second and third Thursdays. And y'all can check out Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast every Sundays for the main series and every Thursday for spin-off series Thursdays. And thank y'all for checking out this commercial break. And now back to your regularly scheduled program. True! I just want to take the time to thank everybody for tuning into this latest episode of Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast, the season 9 finale of Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Thank you for riding with me for season 9 of Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast, and been riding me for 7 years of Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. And it really means a lot. Shout out to the new listeners and the old listeners, and it really means a lot. And thank you for continuing to tune into Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Also, shout out to the guests that came on Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast season 9 of Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. And I'm going to shout out every guest who been on Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast this season. The shout out to Tamika Ford. Shout out to Coral from Visit Vegas Places. Shout out to Jeffrey Charles Phenomenon. And shout out to Dante for Reminiscent and Course Podcast. Shout out to all the new guests that came to Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast this season. And shout out to all the returning guests who came to Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Shout out to Aaron Quito Sands, host of King Talk with Aaron Sands, and After Hours with Aaron Sands. Shout out to Lola Cheese Madabal, host of Welcome to the Trilogy Podcast. Shout out to Ange from Let's Talk About It with Ange Podcast. Shout out to Naya from What's Up and Nana. Shout out to Miss Janie Ho. And shout out to Mr. Richardson, 1/3 of the Fallon Podcast. Shout out to all the guests that came to Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you to the fun conversation. Thank you for just being honest and being yourself to come on the show, because it really means a lot. And y'all all welcome to come back. And thank you for all the guests who came to Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast this season. And you already know where you can check out Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast every Sundays for the main series, every Thursday for spin-off series Thursdays, where we have shows like A Conversation About Music Podcast. New season will be dropping later this year, every first Thursday at 12 p.m. Date Night Talk Podcast with myself and Miss Vanna B. Date Night Podcast where we'll return in March and every second Thursday at 12 p.m. The Old School Show with myself and the Star Rider Ride. New season of the Old School Show will be coming on later this year, every fourth Thursday at 12 p.m. And check out the newest spin-off series Thursday show, the Top 20 Countdown Show, the series with myself and Jalen. The series premiere of the Top 20 Countdown Show will be premiering on January every third Thursday at 12 p.m. Also, look out for the other spin-off series Thursday show, Date Night Talk Story, which will be dropping later this year. So check out Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast every Sundays for the main series, and every Thursday for spin-off series Thursdays. You can check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Pods, and many more. Or y'all can rate the show 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Good Pods, and Podchases. The more y'all rate the show, the more people know about Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel at Ken, a.k.a. Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. Ken, a.k.a. Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast. where you can listen to the audio version of Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. You can watch the visual version of Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast called Mr. Gentleman Like That Pocket TV. And you can check out Mr. Gentleman Facts Quote of the Day every Mondays on YouTube and all social media platforms. So subscribe to our YouTube channel at Ken, aka Mr. Gentleman Like That podcast. If you want me to get on, Mr. Gentleman, like the podcast, send me a bio about yourself and everything that you do to my email at kenypgnt@gmail.com or hit me on social media, Ken underscore Mr. Gentleman. I repeat, Ken, Ken underscore Mr. MR Gentleman, GentleMan. And we can set something up, guys. Looking for guests for season 10 of Mr. Gentleman, like that podcast and all of the spin-off series Thursday shows. You can also check me out on the Premiere Voice podcast with myself, Aaron Keaton Sands, Star Rider Rod, and Long Live the Chief Mighty Mel. New episodes every Wednesday at 12 a.m., a part of the Premiere Powerverse Network. Other shows you can check out on the Premiere Powerverse Network is King Talk with Aaron Sands, hosted by Aaron Keto Sands. You can check out all episodes right now. Look out for his newest show, At the Hours with Aaron Sands, coming soon. You can also check out all episodes of Star Top Podcast hosted by the Star Rider Rod on all podcast platforms. And look out for new episodes of Welcome to the Trilogy hosted by Long Live the Chief Mighty Mel. Listen and support every show in the Premiere Powerverse. And at this time, it's time for everybody's favorite segment. It's time for Mr. Gentleman, like the shout out, where we shout out podcasters and we give them their flowers. Since this is the season 9 finale of Mr. Gentleman, like that podcast, it's time to give y'all the all-star shout outs from every show that we shout out this season. So, shout out to Fade Away Talk with Tim. Shout out to Visit Vegas Places with Coral. Shout out to Better Call Daddy Podcast. Shout out to the Geeky Dad Podcast. Shout out to Pedal of Support Podcast. Shout out to Beard in Front Podcast. Shout out to Cathy Vibes. Shout out to Lullaby the Fair Podcast. Shout out to The American Dreams and the Eyes of Immigrants Podcast. Shout out to Lavender Listens. Shout out to The Pivot Season. Shout out to Hardware Soft Life Podcast. Shout out to the Mama's Life Podcast. Shout out to What the F is Nana. Shout out to the Things About Us Podcast. Shout out to the League of Kings Podcast. Shout out to Blowing the Lid Podcast. Shout out to the Zaya Show. Shout out to the We Defining Wellness Podcast. Shout out to Reminiscent and Quartz. Shout out to Podcast Cafe. Shout out to Solo in Seattle Podcast. Shout out to the Chasing Happy Podcast. Shout out to All Competition. Shout out to the Ladies Pitch. Shout out to Back to Reality Podcast. Shout out to Doom Generations. Shout out to Dating Will Be the Death of Me Podcast. Shout out to Funny Medicine Podcast. Shout out to the Jabba Tears Podcast. Shout out to Wrestling Fans Insight Podcast. Shout out to Let's Talk About It with Ann. Shout out to Those Wrestling Girls Podcast. Shout out to ACMC Digital Podcast. Shout out to Cheese Skills Podcast. Shout out to Hippo Wellness Podcast. Shout out to Unpacking the Box Podcast. Shout out to Conversation with Toy. Shout out to the Fan of Lawyers Podcast. Shout out to the Candid Carol Podcast. Shout out to Manization Station Podcast. Shout out to Opinionated Lashes. And shout out to Zen Spirit School Podcast. Shout out to all the shows that I mentioned for this week. Mr. Gentleman, like that shout out. And check all the shows out and show them support. They're all killing it. And check out all the shows that I just mentioned. True! And of course, admin, good pods, Kim, Mr. Gentleman. Y'all already know good podcasts and many independent podcasters. We rate each other's show. We see what everybody listens to, and we have the charts. And at the time for Mr. Gentleman, like the achievement, where we spotlight everything Mr. Gentleman, like the podcast is doing. And of course, we have the good pod charts and 4 top 100 shows. We are number 8 on the normal charts. We are number 3 on the indie charts. For Citing Culture, we're number 2 on the normal chart. We are through number 1 on the indie charts, been number one for 40 days. For personal journal, we are number one on the normal and the indie chart, been number one for 7 days. For dating chart, we are still number one. We've been number one for 5 days. For music interviews, we are still number one. Been number one for 5 days. For self improvement, we are number two for self improvement, and we are number one. We've been number one for 5 days on the indie chart. So we want to say thank you everybody that check out MrGentleman, like that podcast on Good Pods. It really means a lot. And once again, I thank you. And check out MrGentleman, like that podcast on all podcast platforms, so we can grow the show in the year 2026. And of course, at the official website of MrGentleman, like that podcast, www.realmrgentlemanlikethatpodcast.com, where you can listen to all episodes of MrGentleman, like that podcast, all 263 episodes of MrGentleman, like that podcast. You can check out every guest who's been on MrGentleman, like that podcast, all 83 guests who've been on MrGentleman, like that podcast. You can check out all my guest appearances that I've been on. More guest appearances coming real soon. And look out for the MrGentleman, like that podcast promo tour, where I go on different platforms throughout the year 2026. So look out for that. Check out the official merch store from MrGentleman, like that podcast. www.MrGentleman, like that podcast store.com, where we have shirts, hoodies, mugs, masks, hats, and many more. Support the official merch store so we can upgrade your listening experiences. So check out the official merch store from MrGentleman, like that podcast. www.MrGentleman, like that podcast store.com, and check out the official website of MrGentleman, like that podcast. www.realmrgentleman, like that podcast, or you can just search MrGentleman, like that podcast, or all podcast platforms. And that is some way to support the show. And once again, thank you everybody for tuning into the latest episode of MrGentleman, like that podcast. It really means a lot that you check out MrGentleman, like that podcast for season 9. And thank you. And it really means a lot. Before we go, let me give y'all a rundown schedule on future episodes of MrGentleman, like that podcast. On January 15th, we had the series premiere of MrGentleman, like that podcast presents the Top 20 Countdown Show, the series with myself and Jalen. The series premiere on January 15th, which is also the return of spin-off series Thursday. So look out for that. Then on January 20th, we had the 7-year anniversary of MrGentleman, like that podcast. We had the 7-year anniversary of MrGentleman, like that podcast on January 20th. And on January 25th, we had the season 10 premiere of MrGentleman, like that podcast. January 25th, we had the season 10 premiere of MrGentleman, like that podcast. So look, save those dates I just mentioned. January 15th, the Top 20 Countdown Show, the series premiere on January 15th. January 20th, the 7-year anniversary of MrGentleman, like that podcast. And January 25th, the season 10 premiere of MrGentleman, like that podcast. Thank you once again for everybody for tuning into the latest episode of MrGentleman, like that podcast. The season 9 finale of MrGentleman, like that podcast. It really means a lot that y'all listen to the show and continue to listen to the show while on this short break. And once again, I thank y'all. It really means a lot. Have a good day or night wherever you listen to this episode. And I see y'all later in January. Cheers!
My name is Tamika Ford, and you are listening to Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle Podcast.